Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and wherever you are, welcome to Dreamland. Here it is. I haven't done a show in a couple of days. Uh, and uh, Because I want to hear from you, right? I keep telling you stories. I keep giving you the 411 of the big splat, all of the above. Uh, so I'm at a place where really, until you start asking me questions or saying, hey, I think it's this way. What do you think of that? I'm really, I might say a little of this or a little of that. But this show is a stream of consciousness. I have nothing. I have no crew. I have no um, script or really anything. Now I, take this little thing and I record the radio, right? So here's something from January 21st, 2003.
Someone so clearly isn't presidential material. Yes. It just looks like a money laundering operation.
Donald Trump.
Oh, it's really true. Well, the other thing about her, they want a woman in there, and they don't have a really good field of women in the Democratic Party. So, they're trying to see what can we work with, who's been loyal. And, with all the they've been trying to do a lot of things to pump up her profile. I've noticed that. I've noticed the Gavin Newsom thing. He's, of course, the guy who said he was going to call martial law against his own citizens. Masonic duties into the Theosophical Society and brought forward so much influence on FDR that we're going to see a whole occult puzzle piece fall into place with FDR. But by the time we get to 1945, he has been booted out of the vice presidency. He was going to be there, and he was going to be president next. But instead, we got Truman, who would drop the bomb. And this is something that it's pretty clear Wallace was not going to do. So these groups behind the scenes had to move this in just right. And there's going to be a lot that plays out in the first 6 months of this year that'll give us some of those answers. Let's take it back in time. Today's January 20th, 2023. What was going on January 20th of 1941? Some 82 years ago. It was the official inauguration of FDR and Henry Wallace. And both of these men were very, very deep. Roosevelt, including not only the Masons and the Oddfellows, which is a very interesting kind of spin-off of the Masons and unusual for a lot of reasons. Very heavy emphasis on youth. But
so, bottom line, you hear all these morons going on, oh, America's a Christian country. Never was. All our founding fathers were Masons. The First Amendment. Congress will make no law giving a state-sponsored religion. Everyone has the free will to follow whatever religious belief they want. They can speak to it, act to it. They can congregate together, right? Those are our First Amendment rights, right? Not to have a religion or to have one and believe it, but you can't force it on anybody else. You can believe in whatever you want, that your shoelaces speak to you, that's fine, Dark journalist, yep. Battery low later. Let's see how much. I got about 84%, right? So I got a good hours in a show. So if we can start talking about stuff, we can start talking about stuff. Lower the windows a little bit. It's going to rain, maybe, and I'm going to turn off my motor. Okay. So we are at a Kamala was put there to be um, to run against Donald Trump, just like Hillary Clinton was put there to lose uh, to Trump. Basically, uh, Hillary won 6 million more votes than Donnie, but Donnie got the Electoral College. We're the only country in the frigging world, that's, oh, we're a democracy, and it's not, how many votes you get from the people. No, it's the stuttering old farts of a electoral college, right? Just like senators, California has, I don't know, 30 million people, maybe more. They get two senators. Vermont has 12 people, they get two senators. It's to see how this country is put together is very, very obviously put together to allow white misogynist men to rule. Women have no rights, and we're going back there. And when Adani gets in, and see, the real deal is, no matter who gets in there, this is all going to still happen. Even if Kamala is president, we're going to have 2025. No one's told you that one yet. No. Well, it's coming, and part of it is because Kamala being there, she will be the president when the aliens land on the front lawn, right? And bottom line, she's one of them. We all are, but it's whether your reptile mind wins out or your mammalian spirit does. Clacking Kamala, yeah. First female president. Cool. Mars. Yeah, psychosis. Yep. Exactly. Alien. So anyway, it doesn't matter. It's out me. Hmm. So and listen, come on. Is anybody else out there? And James, come on. You're beating around the bush. Get and that was a that was a metaphor, beating around the bush. Um, what's the other thing when you make fun of something using a slip of the tongue and you go, no, it's not really that. Well, that was that, beating around the bush. And right, and that was a double entendre. There's one kind of Bush, and then there's the Bush family. And Barbara Bush had the biggest Bush. Did you know that Barbara Bush, her biological father, was the Satanist? Barbara Bush came from a very upper crust Connecticut waspy family, and those kids would go off to college, and before their the summer of their junior year, they would go to Europe and have a fling, just like the Amish go off and have the whatever they call that holiday, and then they come back and become real Amish. Well, Bush, was basically fertilized by um, she's a love girl. Yep. Uh, Hindu president. Yep. hmm So, so that's Barbara Bush, right? Barbara, and George H. Bush wasn't Prescott Bush's daddy. No, George H. Bush was, that kid's book, Curious George and the Man with the Yellow Hat, right? Tesla had a bench engineer who was Russian, and he was a Russian spy. He was taking pictures and taking stuff off. And Curious George, George, who became George H. Bush, because Prescott adopted him, basically would steal all the gizmos. Now, if the father stole them, he would get fired. But because the little kid was a cheeky little monkey stealing this stuff, and again, don't believe a word I say. Go Google it. Yeah, let's 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 look. Oh, George W. Bush's biological father was what Satanist? I love, I love, I just asked that question, and this is what it comes back. George W. Bush is among most openly religious presidents in U.S. history, but despite the certainty of Bush's faith to his predecessors, but despite the certainty of Bush's faith to his presidency, missing is his biological father. Missing Satanist shows the result. So, George, how do you feel about your mom and dad? Psychologically, Oliver James analysis of behavior, American president. And so all of these answers, it puts a line through, biological father, Satanist. And it's like, it doesn't want to answer the question. Do you guys out there know who I'm talking about? Um, you know, um, Aleister Crowley, that's it. I'm going back. Did Barbara Bush have an affair with Aleister Crowley? Conspiracy theories appears about actress Betty White. No. Was Barbara Bush related to Aleister Crowley? That's the one. Aleister Crowley was an English-born occultist and late 19th century, 20th century. Crowley was born Aleister Crowley was born Edward Aleister Crowley, Warwick, England, October 1875. He received a primary education, number of prominent English preparatory schools, attended Trinity College and Cambridge University. He studied at the Abbey of Falma in Sicily, Italy, 1920. Crowley was twice. That's your explanation. Barbara Bush, 1925, that it was not related to Aleister Crowley. This claim stems from unfounded rumors of the internet that Crowley was her father. Barbara Bush was the wife of the First Lady President George W. H. Bush, mother of President George. So George W. Bush's grandfather was Aleister Crowley. Don't believe me. Did Crowley open portals he didn't close? Well, that's that scene. I love Devil Boy. That was 2 movies, 3 movies, a comic book. World War II, the Nazis were on that little island off of Scotland, trying to bring in demonic powers to win the war. Well, they were already here. The Thule Society, the Stool Society. They were all there. Did you ever see pictures of Adolf Hitler? Hellboy, that's the one. So there, yes, and places like CERN, they the energy that they use definitely opens up portals. Back at the old Montauk Project, they had things. I mean, that's why Bill, Brookhaven National Laboratory had a cyclotron, an energy machine that was half the size of Long Island, and why tremendous amounts of current would go into a place in Long Island like Montauk had a population of 1,500, and at certain times they were using more juice, twice as much juice as New York City, right? And I know this because I was trying to figure out how to stop the Shoreham nuclear power plant, and I'm saying, hey, we don't need this here. So I got all of the data from the FARC and from the New York Power Authority, and saw that up there near Montauk they were using like twice as much as electricity. Not all the time, but at certain moments they did. And that's when I was at the U.S. Psychotronic Society, and I was hanging with guys like Preston Nichols and Al Bielek and Duncan and a whole bunch of guys who were part of the who have been doing experiments like this, but their mind was constantly being wiped, and that's why they were so like, wow. You talk to those guys, they weren't all there. They're really smart. They were really doing stuff, but it was like, wow. So anyway, full on. So CERN is even more weird. Like they do all kinds of ceremonies. Like when they opened the thing, they had this whole weird ass ceremony. We are on the doorstep. We're on that step of the there was the spear of destiny. We are standing on the step of destiny, right? And we're about to step into the void because it doesn't matter. You look at what's going on in Europe. So, Jamie, you're in Europe. Tell us what's going on with the EU. Deeply MK Ultra. Yep. And I was living the last time I really lived in Ireland was in '86, and that was the last time I really saw um, the folks who I knew from the old Crone. When I went back with Donna in '77 to introduce her, I thought that would be great, and we couldn't find her. Meaning her road was no longer there. The forest was there. The guy who owned the store was no longer there. It was in different hands, and then I didn't go back to Ireland again. And, Don and I kind of split up around 82, 83, maybe even, but 84 I went to, was there and came back in '86. And that's when the Maastricht Treaty was signed. And it was amazing. Soon as the Maastricht Treaty was signed, it was like the energetics of Ireland flipped like that. That place down near Trinity in Dublin, that was like straight out of Harry Potter. If you went down this little alley, it was like a whole different time. It's like the 16th century. All these people were, more than witches and warlocks. Jaya Baba. Yep. So, but in that silence, there is. I mean, why I live out here in the deep green is that it's really silent. Late at night, there's all you hear is crickets. But within the crickets, that's when deep, all the deep stuff comes out, and there are all kinds of animals and spirit guides that come and visit me. And so I go out. I cleared out this whole big part of the forest so I can just sit in this chair and look up at this. I'm there. They're like right at the edge of the clearing I have, right? And they're all like, throwing stuff at me and making little Japanese paper pieces of art, and so yeah, I understand. Because entities of the what he said, um, when you see them, when they're like wearing the robes and tramping around, like that's why I never went to, whenever they did ceremonies at Stonehenge, I never went to those. I would go to Stonehenge myself. I would go to different sacred sites in Ireland and Scotland with a number of individuals that were near and dear to my heart, who I knew were righteous and powerful. But other than that, nah, never really. Once I was talking to a friend of mine about this, about the dynamics of your life, right? And so, pretty much, as a child, I should have been, I died at birth, died at 7, died at 10, you know, um, but I kept coming around and I didn't think much about it, right? And on the other side of those events, amazing things would happen. I didn't think much about them either. I just thought, oh, that's what everyone goes through. And because my family, was a torrent of PTSD, both my parents had real issues, so they took it out on us. And luckily, me being the youngest and smallest, I was and my grandmother took care of me for the first 7 years of my life. I was basically invisible. So by the time you come from 7, I mean, that's when you're most vulnerable to being left damaged from your experience as a child. If you're nurtured and are in a culture of community, which was Harlem, that's when you're not really, you know, left damaged. So I was lucky. So when I, returned to my family and saw them just, what are these guys doing? I just kind of stayed out of harm's way, right? And so that was not a big deal. And then when I in first grade, before the end of first grade, I got murdered by a nun who was a Nazi murderer, in the death houses, the Buchenwald milkmaid, that's what they called her. She would have sex with these, starved to death men and women, and would kill them by torturing their breasts. And the pain was, for her ecstatic, for them not so much. And she was doing all kinds of really crazy ceremonies, and so me, this little innocent guy, telling her what it is, she lost her cookies and tried to kill me. But on the other side of that, once I was taken out of the hospital by my aunt Gracie and Cardinal Cushing and Sergeant York. The Cardinal put me into this amazing community of Marinols, of priests and nuns who didn't wear uniforms. They wore street clothes and were righteous human beings. And their whole, you know, the guys who are Jesuits, they're all about, I want to know. And the guys who are the Franciscans, I want to control and own. And Marinols says, I want to help and I want to love. Right. So I had 2 good years with those guys. So when I came out on the other side of that around, 8, almost 9, I was a warrior and still didn't know it. I used to communicate to London from the West Country Weekly. Sat at Stonehenge 200 plus times, the Central Control Board. Yep. But you know what I mean? When the people come in the robes and do all that kind of stuff, ceremony is very important. I'm very, I do ceremony all the time, but, with Mr. Bunny and my girlfriend, Barbara Butterfly, and I just sit there and we go into state, I never, ever felt any of that at, in those kind of, as part of the Green Door at, in New York City, which is, part of the Theosophical Society, all those societies. I was like the clearinghouse of that, right? Right on Spring Street. I was like living across the street from him. I saw these people I knew going, I said, hey, what do you guys say? Hey, how you doing? And they said, oh, wow, can you fix this? Can you make this light work? Can you get the elevator working? So I became part of that. And I was part of their like inner, you need to be part of the inner circle, so we can, whenever you make protocol, you can have your input because I'm good at that. Right? And it was a joke. It was nice. As long as I lived on Spring Street, I was involved with them. But why do that when I can go to Theosophical Society, right, in upstate New York, or I can go to that place in Virginia? I always forget the name of it. It's right near Stanton, Virginia. It's Google's really good. And as soon as I push a button, I will remember what it is. Let's see. Artist community near Stanton, Virginia. No, not art gallery. No, not the Smith Center. Stanton is a real piece of work. That's a real center of satanic whatever. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Near Blue Ridge Parkway, Stanton, Virginia, artist community built in the 30s. No, it doesn't want to. Nope. Swananoa. There it is. There we go. Swananoa. Swananoa. That's the name of it. Look that up there. Look at that place. And this guy built this all by himself. He was a physicist, mathematician, you name it, right? And let's see what his name is. 497 Swananoa Lane, Apton, Virginia, 22920. Phone number 540-8855-653. This 1912 Italian marble villa sits high atop Blue Ridge Mountain in Afton, Virginia. Major James Dooley, Dooley, executive with a Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad Company, completed construction of $2 million Swananoa in 1912. Dooley, who owned the Maymont estate in Richmond, built this 52-room marble palace as a token of love to his wife, Sally Mae. So I basically was there in the 60s when he was still alive, and so was Sally Mae. And they had this amazing staircase coming down. And every night we'd have a big dinner, and she would be like, "Oh, I'm here for my close up, Mr. DeMille." Visitors today and still see the depth of James and Sally Mae's relationship in places like the 4,000 piece Tiffany stained glass. Yeah, he had Tiffany make this amazing stained glass window and dome ceiling bearing the likeness of Mrs. Dooley. Limited weekend visits hours, right? So I was there when it was a artist community. Oh, let's see. Usually gives you what Wikipedia is saying. Well, Swananoa, built by Dooley. When did he die? 82. Oh, he's born in. No, 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 no. And this ain't the guy. Hmm. Huh. Artist Retreat, Swananoa, off of Blue Ridge Parkway. Well, that's the Black Mountain School. That's no, no, no. Swannanoa in Stanton, Virginia, artist retreat. He's coming up this, but that's not the guy. I mean, they're describing him, but that's not the guy. Anyway, that's a good example of rewriting history to whatever it is, Central Board Control Board. Jamie, the real Central Control Board is Ayers Rock in Australia. Right? You should check that place out. It has all these caves all around it, right? And it looks like somebody bored them out with a laser, meaning there is no stalactites. It's just smooth like a marble, right? And you go in, and there'll be like a little fire pit, and there'll be a place, and here's where the cavemen, drew, right? And it's obvious, that they have people come in because the fire is just newly fired, and they've taken the stick with the carbon and drawn something, right? So that's for the tourists. But you sit there and you meditate and you look at the space. It becomes a movie, becomes like a time traveling portal, and it's and those are everywhere. Meaning at the school where John is, there's one of those. Around here, there's one, but the one around here is much more powerful, and it's not as obvious. Meaning, things here come through a cave or a looking glass or anything. They just kind of come out of the woods into the open space, right? And so, some entity like Bigfoot is, comes and visits me almost every night because he constantly just, will take stuff. So I don't have any real room. So I have still a lot of stuff. So I got piles in the woods, right? And I put them in boxes and then put them in a garbage bag and then stack them up on a pallet so they don't stand in water, and then cover them up in tarps, right? And so whatever will go into a box in the center of one of these piles, take something out, not disrupt anything, and then leave it on my deck or leave it, on my path, right? And so it's just to say, hey, here I am. And so that's all around us, but most of us don't want to see any of it. Don't want to be part of it. We just want to believe what we're told. And we're going to be told some really interesting stuff, and it'll be interesting to see how we change our viewpoints. Well, most people will because they don't have anything that they're really standing on anyway. So how much time we got left? Well, there's only Jamie or AI, whoever it is, who's left, and Saba travels by night, bears by day. That's how it works. Yes, exactly. Uh, and I leave stuff for all the animals, right? And that's my little ceremonial tokens. I leave that for them, and they're very nice. I do that in a ceremonial way, and they don't ravage the place. When I first was here and was never here, and I come back, those animals like tore the place up like naughty teenagers, But now, no, not so much. Just a little nudges, like, see, we're here, we're being nice. Isn't this funny? We love you. So anyway, so yeah. Um, so what else is going on? Huh. Uh, so Kamala, you think Donnie's bad? See, Donnie's not bad because he's very obvious. You can see exactly what he is. He's like, you see what you get. You get what you see, right? The people behind him, they are so full of hubris, they think that they can do whatever and they're really not smart. They can be messy, I mean, look what the Supreme Court has been doing. But that's a good thing because they're doing stuff that really forces people to start to think and get involved and all the rest. So that's all very good. And it's the people who, but oh, we're doing what you want. Oh yes, we're blah 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 blah. Not so much. So uh, okay, come on, Jamie, or number two, give me something else to um, go on about. Otherwise, it's getting hot in here. They talk crazy shit, man. Yep. And that has been that way ever since. So I was having lunch at this new place. Uh, uh, Jamie, you're quick. You're quick. I just was looking at what you were saying. Yep. So I was at this restaurant and just to see what they were doing, and they were okay. I give them a B. And they're going to be very successful because they have a bar. The restaurant before them thought they could just rest on their laurels of their meat. They had really good meat, but that's right. So these guys have meat and games and toys and this and that, and they'll be very successful. So the lady was there. She came from parts known that I lived in, right? So we could talk about her neighborhood. I knew her high school. She was like amazed. And so basically, we talked, and then she had a guy working there, and he thinks she's smart, right? And he is like getting his master's degree um, at some, you know, online school that doesn't even have bricks and mortar. It hasn't been around. I said, how long that thing been? Oh, it came online last year. And you're getting, okay, I hope you're not paying a lot of money. Anyway, so he goes, well, I said, well, I showed him my car. He said, oh, wow. I always wanted to do the things you do. I said, yeah, it takes some time. And he goes, well, I'm going to get my master's degree in a couple of weeks. And I said, really? Okay. Um, so I said, so what are you? Are you a um, scholastic or a scholar? You know, a you know, what do you call those guys? Who teaches by a textbook. Um, and the Greeks, if you were one of them, you were part of their academy. So are you a academic scholar? Well, I'm a scholar. I said, what? Well, what's this? Really? You're not an academic? They said, academics are ruled by the textbook. Scholars are ruled by the universe. He goes, what's that mean? And I said, well, if you got to ask what it means, you don't really gonna be able to know. He goes, well, I've always wanted to write a textbook. I always wanted to be the authority. I said, well, then that's what you are. You're an academic. That's what the Greeks were, academics. They had the academy. And he said, yeah, that's why I wanted to be in the academy. And I said, you know what you had to do to get into the academy? He goes, no, what? I said, you had to do sexual favors for the academians. And he said, what? What? I said, sexual favors for the academians. I don't know about that. Yeah, well, that's if you're going to try and be a tenured professor from a green stamp online university, you might have to bend over there. He was like, eh. And I would give their food. I would give their decoration an A, and I would give them their food a B. Right, which is pretty good. Most places can't get past C minus. So being a B, that's pretty good. To get an A or a B plus or A minus, you really had to be knowing you had to be on top of it, right? Like nobody just gives you a Michelin star. So anyway, um, so kids, we're living in what they call interesting times. But I lived in my whole life has been in interesting times. The 50s, nuclear weapons, hydrogen bombs. You know, basically America being Nazi Germany. Having Werner von Braun on my parents' carpet, drunk out of his mind. The pile was so steep in that he kept making swastikas in the carpet, with his finger. And I said, "What's that?" He goes, "Oh, it's a Tibetan symbol of power." I'm like, 5. What's that? Tibetan. Okay, Uncle. You know. Ow. So anyway, but most people had no idea they were living in interesting times. Now everyone is going to be exposed to them because it's part of an energetic ceremony. That's why we needed 6 billion or plus people on this planet at this time so we can have that bloody sacrifice. And boy, will that be a ceremony. We won't need ever ready batteries to bring in demons from that. And we can see it happening right now. I mean, we could see it happening in World War II, the death camps, nuking the Germans nuking the Russians. How do you kill 60 million people in less than 3 years? It's not by tanks and artillery. So our history is not anything close to what is what it is. And here's BB, in America coming to our Congress while they're doing a really good job on the folks in the strip, right, and everywhere else. So it's all fun and games, as my mom would say. It's all good. Laughs their eye out. So that's where we're at. Oh, good, good. You can hear. So my hand isn't over the. Uh, always been here. They are masters at hiding in plain sight. You know, cloaking. Yeah, I hear you clearly. So anyway, it is what it is. And as I was telling most people I was talking to today, that you know, really step up into your life and realize that your life isn't about you; it's about the we and me. Realize it's about making other people. I was just talking to this guy who was talking about he's been having hard times. He's always had hard times with women. I said, "What are you talking about? Women are easy to please. You just do exactly what they want before they even ask you to do it." And he goes, "How do you do that?" And I said, "Well, you listen to them, you watch them, you appreciate them, and then you will be made happy by making them happy." "Well, they never do what I want them to do." I said, "Well, try and do something they want you to do." "I can't get rid of them." I said, "Well, just take your underpants off, your stained underpants off, and throw them, in the corner in the living room, and then that'll get rid of them, or they'll shoot you, one or the other." And they kind of looked at me like, "How did you know that I shit my pants?" I said, "Well, I can smell it." Anyway, so those are the subtleties of being a human being, right? That most human beings have no subtlety for, right? And so um, it's an interesting game we play. It's been nice that the the nasty weather has just stayed over there, right? And and it's all a matter of intent, right? Conscious intent. My conscious intent was to do this show here, guys, and put out some shamanic info in the pond of the World Wide Web. Just a little pebble, and so any other questions? Any other statements? Anyone want any clarifications? It's pretty much all right in front of us. It's pretty evident. Um, Something weird ass is going to happen in Paris, to make everyone swim in that swill. Has anyone been to Paris and just smelled the Seine? I mean, people, and I was talking to this one, um, academic moron about a year ago, just, a couple of days before. And he's the same guy I talked to just a couple of days after Russia went into uh, Ukraine, and he said, "Oh, Russia will just take it over. and that'll in a matter of days. Da, da, da. Here we are going on 3 years, right? I said no, it's going to be about 5 years, and Russia in the end will use nukes on NATO, and we'll be off to the races. Oh, you're crazy! That's all people talk about now, right? Conscious intent. Yep. So something weird ass is going to happen in Paris, and so who knows what it is? I think slime monsters. They're going to start doing, swimming in the Seine. And those people be doing their race, and when they jump out, there'll be a slime monster. And they'll start eating people. It'll be interesting. Whatever it is, it'll be interesting. But Paris is a great town to hang out with because every little neighborhood is a little town. That's the beauty of Paris. To go see Paris as a big city and the lights and the Eiffel Tower and the fancy restaurants and all that's go to, and that's the beauty of Paris. Still in all that high end, expensive stuff. There's still these little neighborhoods when everyone's living for their baguette and their brie cheese and their coffee and talking about stuff at the outside cafe. That's what I loved about Paris. But my days in Paris were in the late '60s and '70s and early '80s. Basically my foreign. Well, I did 205. 2005 was my last European. I got hired to be a guide, through Ireland, and they didn't want to see the stuff. Yeah, Nostradamus mentioned a new in Paris. Yes, well, this would be it would fit the bill. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't know. Like I say, don't believe a word I say. I know nothing. I'm just your friendly neighborhood Sensei Al Bob. So yes, and nukes are. Did anyone ever watch that movie in the '70s when a kid steals some nuclear material out of a lab in Cornell University? And it's all there. Cornell, everything within a 200-mile radius. There are laboratories sprinkled all through the mountains here in a 200-mile radius around Oak Ridge. Some of the weirdest ass shit is going on. Yep. So they're a lot worse than Donald Trump, that's for sure. Because, like I said, he's a known quantity. You can see him do his shit right in front of your face. He can't lie about shit. Everybody who circles around him is as crazy as bad shit. I mean, I knew Rudy Giuliani when he was just, a lawyer in New York, before he became mayor, before he became anything, right? And he was that crazy then. So you can't hide crazy bad shit, right? Now, you really can't hide anything. Everyone is who they seemingly are, pretty much. But most people don't want to see that. They just want to see what they want to see. So they look at Donnie. They see, he's America's Adolf Hitler. Not quite. I mean, what's his name? Biden has more of that than Donnie. Donnie is more like a clown. You know. Just I mean, look at any picture. He loved getting himself pictured, and he was, he is, a more actualized version of John Birmingham, right? Yeah. But John Birmingham, is a lot sweeter, right? He is John, and that is John's saving grace, his sweetness. That's why I'm his friend, because he has this ultimate sweetness in him, and he is this magnet for strangeness. So me as the scholar of what's going on, John is just all I have to do is observe him. I don't even have to stay. I don't have to go there anymore, right? I can just watch what he does on his channel and say, okay. And I want to know everything. Yes. So me, I don't need to know everything because whatever I need to know kind of gets put in my head at the moment of when I need to know it. So I don't need to know everything. That's a big responsibility. That takes too much time. And I've worked for, been around a lot of. You end up being like Preston Nichols. You know, yeah, Johnny is. He's like I said, he's the patron saint of sweet suffering, or suffering sweetness, or I have no idea what it really is, but he's somewhere around there. And but it's so sad. I mean, that's why I don't have that much to do with John because it's so sad to watch go down. I mean, when he's threatening me with a hammer to get out of his house, I know I'm going to be taken to someplace way more interesting than where that is, and that's okay, right? But it's sad to see him go that way and be manipulated by his hormones and his. But that's kind of what all human beings are. They are just mud puppets. Meat bags. So, how are we doing with power here? Because I don't like to. No, I got a good. Yeah, I got a good 20, 30 minutes. The one thing that's getting a little oppressive is the temperature. I'm just going to open the door. So anyway, what else is there? Environmentally, we're just a really good movie to watch about the environment is my two good buddies, Art Bell and Whitley Strieber, wrote a book called The Day After Tomorrow, and then they made a movie out of it. Great book, great movie. Whitley's Whitley's a great writer. He's got great stories, but he kind of can get stuck, like all writers do. And so when he did, what his first thing about ET abduction, he was really the first guy out of the blocks about that in a big way. That got a lot of people read it. They made a movie out of it, and and then the next 3 or 4 or 5 books were about the same thing. But then he started doing other stuff. His other really good book is a book called Gray, which is about a lot of interesting stuff about who and what the Greys are and the relationship that humans have to the Greys. It's a very good book. And another one is 2012. He did a really good job on that, right? And his other book with Art was The Day After Tomorrow. So let's see. Let's see what Google says about that. Books by Whitley Strieber.
Whitley Strieber is the author of more than 60 books. Here are the first 3: Communion, The Wolfen, and The Hunger.
So he's pretty prolific, 60 books, right? Let's see how many they will show. Let's see. UFO of God, say UFO deception, aliens, angels, and demons. Symmetry, servants of the fire, Wiccan, Heaven Storm, message from the future, alien scriptures, third eye, gift from the stars, messengers, the beast. Books by Art Bell and Whitley Strieber. Oh, they wrote a whole bunch. Global Superstorm, 99 cents. That's a good price. Becoming Global, whatever. Secret School. see. The day after tomorrow. The movie that this book is based on Art Bell and Whitley Strieber's collaboration book, A Coming Storm. Okay. So it's a movie, The Day After Tomorrow, and the book is A Coming Storm, Superstorm. And go read that. That's really, and so when was that? Let's see. What year was that? 77, right? So they had it pegged pretty good in 1977, right? So, and see, you have to realize that back in the Greek times, if I've been poking around the Greek libraries, since my days in at Trinity and Dublin, Ireland, and there was, I was in these, parts of good chunks of the Library of Alexandria was in Trinity, right? And that library wasn't lost, it was spread out all over the place because every place he conquered, he made into a capital city and put the first thing he did was put a library there. And Rhonda, I'm going to check out Mayor Baba. Yep, that's a good thing to do. Uh, do, 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 do. Let's see. Avatar Mayor Baba is a great gift, a blessing, a good start in comprehending the ontological trance, right? So Jamie, you just said, there's something you should give us a little definition example, and then I'll take it from there. We got a good number here too. Let's see. I am going to check out Mayor Baba. Rhonda, thanks for the opportunity. It's a rare gem, mostly unknown. Yep. And but all of these great teachers, I was reading my Gurdjieff books the other day, and the beauty of Gurdjieff is that he knew everybody. He was right there at that interesting point in time where East meets West, and everybody else is having a good time. And so he is a great, you know, um, his book, A Meeting with Remarkable Men, Ouspensky and Gurdjieff, right? So, ontological or ontological, right? So, I'm going to go ask Mr. Google to give us a definition. We can start from there. And that's what Mr. Google is good for, to give the generically background. Ontological, what does it mean? Layman's term, what does it mean? uh, Ontological.
Here's the definition of ontological: relating to the branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being.
What does that mean? Wikipedia, ontological. People also ask, what is ontological? In simple terms, ontological is a symbol, it's the study of existence, but it is much more than that. Ontologica is also a study of how we determine if things exist or not. So that's a really interesting one because when we get into string theory, right, into really, um, as what you call it, Albert Einstein had called it strange physics, right? He started bumping into mathematically, what's the age of the universe? Does it go faster or slower? What's it doing? And, and he said, you know, when we get into this, it's because he's getting into the math of it, and he called it strange math, right? That's you can't make it. And he was saying that in the 1920s, right before he became super duper. I mean, guys who were into physics, guys who were Niels Bohr, guys like that, uh, in that school, Mr. You know, Schrodinger, Heisenberg, those guys. Um, so they were like all on this, and they kind of realized that one guy would think of something and they'd all think of it, right? And they all kind of live in Europe, kind of in the same location, and they would gather every so often, and it was like, and they do experiments like that, be in different rooms of a hotel, and one guy thinks of something, and then they all think of it, right? And that's the thing about, um, what is consciousness, you know? And consciousness is this interesting thing of, is it a particle or is it a wave, right? And so particles can be in two places at the same time, right? Waves can't. They kind of follow a path, but they both have similar energy synchronies, right? And so what's going on here? Right? And so what has been devised by particle physics is that, these particles, right, um, can exist. That's why we can have the multiverse, right? And let's see, I have been following Judge, and I have read his book, My Life Much Improved. Yep. Forever. The master leads in self-awareness of I am God state. Read God speaks something wondrous, so much love. Yep, exactly. Right. So um if you think you are God, well, you're pretty much mistaken. You think you're the hottest thing since no. But if you're open to serve love's co-creation, well, you got a shot at experiencing God's love because you're doing it in co-creation. That's like particle physics, right? So if we want peace on earth, we have to, you know, expose ourselves to the understanding of conscious I am in every day and every way, taking the peace of the earth and making it stronger. So if we work together right here, right now, all five of us come together and visualize that co-creation of love in world peace, right? We're going to get someplace. So come on, let's do it. Come on, close your eyes, breathe deep, fill yourself with that prana. The thing that kind of animates us is God's love, and that's when breathing that in. And when we breathe out, we are expelling all the poisons, all the negativeness, all the fear, all the anxiety, all the ego. We're letting it all go. Got that space there. Breathe in. Fill your lungs, fill your lungs, fill your lungs with that prana, that golden light. And your blood, your heart is pumping that blood, which is highly enriched. It's not just got iron in it, it has other harmonics that vibrate off of that iron that brings to every cell of your body and every atom of that cell that prana, that life force of God's love. See it. It's Mayor Baba. If you read Mayor Baba's teachings, that's where it is. You read, um, the stuff you're reading, Rhonda, that's what it is. So when you're doing that, visualize you breathing in that prana, that life force, while you're reading these guys, and that's how you can co-create. That those men or women, you should, everyone should go read um, the woman who Madame Curie, right? She was a smart one. They wanted to give the Nobel Prize to the husband, but he said, no, 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 I'm just a bookkeeper. This girl's a smart one, right? She was also the one who had the courage I mean, she played around with this stuff to the point that she irradiated herself and died probably 20 years sooner than she would have. Um, but she brought the understanding of that. She pushed forward the understanding of physics by 100 years just in her life. Right? And you should go read her books. Right? You may have. I'm kind of out of that loop. I'm out here where this is best I can do is go to my neighbor's driveway and get on the internet, talk to you guys. But I do have, and like I have no real, I'm down to $8 in my pocket until the 6th of um, August, which is fine by me. And I got plenty of food. Just can't go can't go to the movies. Let's see, movie about Madame Curie.
Radioactive is a 2020 movie directed by Marjane Satrapi, starring Rosamund Pike, Sam Riley, and Anya Taylor-Joy.
There you go. That's the movie. Didn't get much play, did it? It's one of those who are rare individuals about whom there is always more to say. Her work and personality are now the subject of a new movie, Radioactive, which is directed by blah blah blah. There has been innumerable books, plays, and films, and even comic book about Madame Curie. More recently, the Polish composer Libes Siakul, who, like Marie, is a resident of France, wrote an opera titled Madame Curie, 2011. Uh, Marie's life story is truly a operatic libretto, needing little in the way of embellishment. Circa did not want Marie Curie to be personality that we know from textbooks, the figure as a scientist who worked day and night on her discoveries, right? But rather to be shown as a human being who also walked the earth and who had her own intense emotional and intellectual life in all of its forms. This sentiment is also apparent in the new movie. Uh, Rosamund Pike, a well-known UK actress, plays the role of Marie Curie. Still, Sam Riley, also a UK actor, is her husband and scientific collaborator. The film is based on the graphic novel Radioactive. Marie and Pierre, a tale of love and fallout. Hmm. So let's see. Let's go back. The greatest 100 women scientists. 100 trailblazing women of science. So the interesting things about everybody except white men is that they are the people who built the world we live in. You know, um, worked at the U.S. Patent Office, and it was very obvious that things were invented by women, especially in the between 1820 and 1890, like farm implements, right? Because the handwriting was very feminine, and the drawing was very exquisite, right? Not by your average, drunk guy like McCormick Reed. He was well known for whoring and gambling and drinking, and most of the inventions he sold away for he owned on gambling. So it's obviously the slaves, you know, his wife invented all this stuff because they were the ones out in the field working. Have lost faith on a mass scale. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see. I thought it was never newer. Let's see. I think just media, movie, and her. Let's see. The problem people have lost any and all faith on a mass scale. Well, I don't think so, because if people lost their faith on a mass scale, we wouldn't be here. Because getting back to the particle motif, pretty much our world is a culmination of what everyone thinks it is, right? And it's working off of this motif of the particle, that the collective consciousness, right? And so, no, I don't think people have lost, faith, because basically most people in their life, they got a life, they got family, they got kids, or they don't, they got a job, or they don't, but they got a life. They live it in a certain way that gives them, like me. Do I have faith? I have faith in love's co-creation. And anything else? No, that's belief. I don't believe in anything. Right? You're wise not to believe in anything, because if you believe in stuff, you're always getting, um, taken advantage of. Right? Let's see. Token study. Hey, buddy. So here we are, and we are a community talking right now, all five of us, and we can basically create the universe, the world, the politique, right? And that was, I used to go to rainbow gatherings and other gatherings, because that's what we did until we stopped doing that, and we just kind of gathered out of habit. And so I said, screw that, you know. And people depended on me to take care of this and that, and I wasn't going to enable people's bad habits. I don't think they have lost faith either. I travel a lot, and people seem more patient with each other and with their children. For the most part, we have stopped hitting children. To me, that is huge. Yep, me too. And all of the negativity that we see in the media is basically propaganda, because when you have such a small group of people who rule over us, it's the only way they can stay in power and keep us in line is through fear, anxiety, blah blah blah. Right? So they do a good job. They do their best, but that's changing. People are realizing, there's something wrong with this picture here. Like the outer limits. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. We control. Yeah, they can for a while, but not for that long. You got a new cool job. What's your new cool job, Token? Every time I ask a question like that, I know I'm setting myself up for something. But that's all right. That's part of the teaching kids. What age group? My favorite thing to do is to teach. And young kids, from kindergarten to sixth grade, they're the best. That's when you can't lie to them. Middle to high school, those kids are starting to get a little, oh, I want to be cool, Whereas the other kids, kindergarten to sixth grade, they are. I mean, that's what we are working to. They rule. Yep, and that's all the schools that I would go to, to be that researcher to figure out what's wrong, what's right, how do we do this better. I basically, for a good 20 years, when I did that, I would say we have to turn total control of this institution over to the students. Oh, you can't do that. That'd be bedlam. I said, no, it might be noisy, but it's not going to be bedlam. It might be interesting, but and confusing, but it won't be chaos and trauma and all and fear. And I remember this one school. I mean, and these were all little kids too. Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth graders, and they were like, if kids wanted to, hula hoop down the hallways, they could. If they wanted to do, you know, um, you know, front flips, they could. As long as my rule was, you can do anything you want. You just can't interfere with anybody else. By what you're doing, if it stops other people from what they want to do, then you have to make amends. You have to figure out how you can both do what you want to do. And most of these schools weren't like schools of 5,000 and 6,000. I mean, I did go to schools like that, and it was like prison. It was like, what? You guys must be nuts. The efficiency of it's not that you are making criminals as we speak. Yep. Progressive Dewey School. Oh. So now that had all this experience of figuring out protocols of universities and schools and stuff like that, I went to the little school district around me, and they know me. Um, and I said, I want to sign up and be a what do they call those teachers who show up when the other teacher can't show up? A substitute. And they took all my information and did blah blah blah, and then they came back to me and said, "Well, that was very nice of you, but we don't want to waste your time because you are overqualified for this position." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm in my mid 70s. I'm not doing anything else. The school was just down the road from me. I can get there. You give me this much every. That's way more than I have right now. So yeah, come on." I said, "Oh no, you're too qualified." Matter of fact, so what did I do? I went and did the job anyway without getting paid, which was much better because. And then what did they do? They closed the school down. After I was there a year, they closed it down. Yeah, buddy. I'm teacher. I'm teacher to everybody. That's my job. Through stories, right? I'm not just a sensei. I am a griot sensei. Shamanic griot. Right? Not been hired because of too qualified. Thanks for teaching me. Yep, yep. So you can always act a little, you know, slower than you normally are, right? You don't have to be always the sharpest pencil in the thing, And I did that for a good 40 years. I mean, until they caught on, and then they just kept pushing me into that position. And but okay, I'm in that position now, so I'll do that. So anyway, and like I was telling someone today who was really rich, and I told him, so the guy said, "Well, you must be a millionaire." And I said, "No, no, I have nothing." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, I own I have a little piece of property, and that's it. I have no stock, no bonds, no investments, no nothing. I got rid of it all." He goes, "You got rid of it all? What'd you do? Invest in something else?" I said, "No, I gave it away." You what? Right? How could do that? Very freeing, and I knew if I didn't do it, I'd die. So I had to do it, let it go, and now I'm doing this. And I said, and it didn't change my lifestyle whatsoever. I still live like a millionaire, and on $400 a month. And they were like, "I won the lottery." I said, "I'd be doing the same exact thing." Yep, exactly. So you're a lucky guy, buddy. You know, because not many people get that opportunity to experience that. And you also got a new truck. Look at that. There you go. Yep, it's going well. And just keep servicing love's co-creation, and it'll continue to go where you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what situation, I remember when my other car blew up and it was like, because I had just sunk the last $3,000 I had into this mechanic who said, "Oh, I'll fix it so it'll last another 100,000 miles." Like a week later, the engine blew up. "Oh, can't fix it. Your car is worthless." I was like, anyway, so let's go on. So what is the Dr. Token here? He is like riding a high stream, right? He's got a job that he really loves. He's economically self sufficient. Um, he's feeling good about it, right? So how's everybody else doing, right? And so there's Dr. Token there, and he's doing this, and and he said he would do it even if they didn't pay him, right? So that's a good start, at that point. And if you can stay in that headspace, you'll be fine. But if you get into any other headspace about, oh, I want this, I want need this, and blah blah blah. Oh, I feel threatened by that. Oh, I really can't stand that person, or blah 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 blah. That's when you start to have a challenge, right? So, how do is why you're there? How do you deal with that kind of challenge? Right? What do you do? Oh, how much juice do we got left? Oh, we still got a good 15 minutes, enough to you know start to nibble at this question. What do you do when things are going really great and then the cloud starts moving towards you? What do you do? Yep, life is a roller coaster. Yep, yep. So you kind of acclimate to right, and you get yourself. I work on homeostasis. So like I'm a dead guy walking, right? So the only way I can, like, last week, it's all these doctors because they everyone did all the wrong things, and so I had to go to them and say, "No, we need to jigger it this way, need to jigger it that way." And I used to have doctors that were really good, and then COVID came and they all quit. Now I have pretty mediocre healthcare. Anyway, but they're learning to let me do with me what I want to do, as long as I don't tell anybody else that they can do that too. So anyway, I'm back into my homeostasis, right? But I see so many people so pushed out of their homeostasis, and I try and go and help them. And I kind of, this is one friend of mine. If we only changed his diet a little of this and did a little of that and did a little of this, he'd be, and it's not a matter of how long you're going to live. I don't care. It's how comfortably you live, right? I don't want to be in pain. So the things these doctors did was like putting me in serious pain until I would have to meditate in the morning and like jigger myself and then move around, right? So anyway, I went to all the doctors, we rejiggered me, and now I'm doing better, right? But not everyone can do that, right? So this one guy, and I go see him, and I can just look at him and see he's got a problem. So I kind of adjust him, right? And he goes, "Wow!" And then he's good for a few days, but then he bends himself out of shape and is back in the same shape again. And so he won't change anything. I bring him stuff to here, use this, eat that. And he doesn't do any of that because that is, and I've been there. I know it. For 15 years, I worked in the corporate world and I just was Mr. Hedonist to the max, and I enjoyed it. But he's at least he's not even at that point. It'd be one thing if he were like going to Carbar Blue and having whoop de doo food and da 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 da. But just eating the crap processed shit that is bought at the supermarket and you're dying from it. Uh, so anyway, later, Rhonda. Stay well, be good. Everyone, remember, you get a hold of me at dudewake42 at Gmail. And let's see. How much juice do I? We're getting down there. I got about another 10 minutes. What time is it? Yep, gotta go. Anyway, so make some comments on the comment page. Get more people to watch this thing. Subscribe, hit that little bell so you'll be announced that I'm doing a show, because I don't have any real schedule. And favorite Sinatra song. Well, Frank Sinatra had a great voice. You have to understand. He had a great sense of musicality, but he was. I don't like to judge people, but so I would say I loved all his music the same way. There was no real favorite, right? Like David Bowie, there's a handful of. I love all of David Bowie, but a lot of his some that CD, the 10, his best 20 songs, pretty much have that. Right. Anyway, so I gotta go. Like Bowie's early stuff too. Yes, Ziggy Stardust. And but that song. I'm scared of Americans. I mean, that's his last songs. That Black Star. That was a pretty good album. Same with Johnny Cash. His Black Star. I think he did a Black Star album too. They both died around the same time. But anyway, I myself ain't dying anytime soon. And if I do, it's because it was my time. Let's see. I'm afraid of America. Yep. I did a video on that. Yep. Black Star. Anyway, so I got to get up and move. Otherwise, I'm going to be rusting inside this car. But I gotta go. I'm down at that. Yeah, I'm at that Red Mine area. Gotta go. Love you guys. Let's do this. I'll try and do it again tomorrow. Maybe definitely Friday, if not tomorrow.